Hello everyone, and in today's review, I'm going to be doing a review for the 18th episode of I'm a Celebrity 2025. So, as of in this episode, we have lost 4 of the campmates. So we lost Alex, we've lost Eddie, we've lost Vogue, and we've lost Kelly. So we had 8 people left in the jungle. And at the beginning of the episode, Ruby said that she's never going to forget the singing, and she's one of the happiest people on earth right now. Lisa explained that she wasn't even hungry to eat breakfast, and Kelly said that she seemed to have been overindulging on the experience and she's been having the time of her life, and she thinks that Jack's probably hungover from all of the fun that they had in the previous episode. Shona said that she felt like she had a heavy night out, but it was absolutely worth it, and I think you've got to remember this is when the final 8 of them went to the Jungle Arms, so they had their snacks, they answered their questions, they had all their fun. And Ginger also revealed that he was the one that brought in the butter. So, yeah, that's kind of what happened in that episode. Tom said that it was sad to see Kelly go, but the fact that she enjoyed yesterday so much was almost like she was leaving on a high. Kelly explained before she left that there were more than 10 milk bottles in one of those Kev's Deals and Wheels challenges. So she kind of left them with like a mic drop. So they all kind of just were like, all right, okay, whatever. And Ginge said that they obviously had an extra win before coming back. And H and Ginge were basically discussing how to work out, like, in terms of the sweets that they had, how to deal with what Kelly basically said about the whole, there was a few extra milk bottle things. So they just said, we split the extra 3 between 3 people, and it was Kelly who decided to suggest us to eat them, basically. Martin also said he was really sad to see Kelly go because she was quite a bright spark. H said, we've got news. There was a mission called Dangerous Discoveries, and he basically looked at Jack straight away and just said, Jack's not been out of the jungle for a while. Potentially this is one that he wants to do. Jack explained that this was a solo adventure to get stars, and he felt like he was going to be a water animal. He was going to be a water power animal, basically. H said if he was to get less than 8 stars, he wouldn't rate him anymore. And Ginger explained that Jack felt very relaxed, with Jack saying he's the highest star collector so far, and he has to prove to Ginge that out of everyone, he is the number 1 game player, obviously best at the trials. So for Jack's mission, he was based in an archaeological site with different relics and different stars in the pit, and also things in the hellholes. What he had to basically do was retrieve the golden coins with a star implemented on the coin, and obviously there were fake coins which didn't have those stars, so for every one of the ones that wasn't correct, he would lose 1 mil for camp, and for each one that was an actual golden star, he'd obviously win the mil for camp. So obviously 8 up for grabs, 8 people in camp. Jack was also asked by, I think it was Ant or Dec, whether he was comfortable, and he said, well, I'm going to use the word comfortable loosely. So, he was just kind of laying in this like sandpit thing, and it didn't look the most comfortable, but it kind of looked a bit comfortable. And then basically, he was putting his hands in all the different hellholes, which included things like yabbies, scorpions, toads, and lizards. And then when he got to level 2, where he was able to stand up, there were things like small crocodiles, spiders, snakes, and things such as a ridged tail lizard, which I've never heard of before. Ginge said, Jack said, we shall feast, because he managed to get 7 out of 8 stars. And every time that Jack put his hand in a hellhole, he kind of screamed. And Dec said, well, Jack's first nemesis is sand. Ginge back at camp decided to scare Lisa, so I think she was just having a little nap. So he's gone, "Whoa," and then she's just jumped. And Jack explained that he felt overwhelmed and frustrated. He's absolutely bummed that he didn't do very well in the mission. Again, pretending that, they didn't do very well, and then told them they got 7 out of 8 stars. Ruby explained that she loved the conflict between H and Ginge in terms of were they going to do a chore, were they not going to do a chore, and it was up to leaders Lisa and Ruby to decide who was going to be doing what chores. So as chefs, it was Shona and Tom. On water duty was Ginge and H. Washing up was Martin and Jack. Wood was Ginge again and Jack. And then for dunny duty, it was Martin and Tom. And Ginge basically questioned straight away, asking why he had 2 jobs in camp and H only had the 1 job. And Ruby said, it's fine, we're going to switch it up next week. So I think they kind of let H off the hook. And they wanted Ginge to actually do a little bit more in camp. Lisa asked H whether he's ever kissed and told. And he said that he was once dating a girl or with a girl. And she ended up deciding to film him while they were in bed. Which, you know, it's a bit of invasion of privacy. But, you know, you don't know what's going to happen until it happens. You just have to be careful that there's not cameras around if you're, you know, trying to have private time. Lisa said that she's actually been filmed 3 times in real life, and that her character is a gay icon on Emmerdale. So it's not that she's necessarily gay, but it's just her character is loved by, you know, people from the rainbow community, basically. Ginge was also referring to things like MILF and GILF, which again are phrases that people know of. Ruby didn't quite understand what they were, but then eventually was, you know, given the context behind those meanings. And then up at the leader's den, Ruby could obviously hear people laughing and talking, and she said on the tannoy, is the conversation exciting? Should I come back down and, you know, carry on the conversation? So I think at this point, I think somebody said basically that if conversations were boring or not interesting or not anything that Ruby was interested in, she wouldn't get involved in it. But if the conversation was something that she could put a bit of input to, then she'd obviously come down and come and have a chat. It was up to Lisa and Tom to play a Christmas game. So they were playing a game to win a secret gift for the other campmates and themselves as well. And Lisa, I think, described themselves as Angela Lansbury, and Lisa being the little elf. So the items that were up for grabs were a Manchester scarf for Ginge, a foam back roller for Jack, an air freshener for Shona, which was a confiscated item, which ended up becoming her secret item, a polar bear toy for Lisa, iPads for H, a Christmas hat for Tom, a ceramic wooden pig for Ruby, and a violin or ukulele, for Martin. So yeah, they managed to get all of them. They basically had to push the toys. So Lisa was directing, having her head through like a ceiling, and Tom had to use his finger to prod the items along. And Lisa said that they're going to absolutely love us, the fact that, you know, we got all their presents. Martin said that Santa got him the wrong present because he doesn't even know how to play a ukulele. H explained that the eye patches were from probably his mum. Shona said that, you know, her item of air freshener was once contraband and now she's actually got it to be able to use. And I think she ended up using it as deodorant. And then Jack was obviously saying to Ruby, you know, how good is that that foam roller? Because obviously she started using it to massage her back. She said it's absolutely great. And Shona said that obviously the mood is a lot more lovely by having a smaller camp. She does miss everybody else that's already been eliminated from the game or the show. But, you know, it's the fact that because there's so few people left, you can actually start building those connections with people on a more deeper level, basically. For dinner, they had goat leg, which was probably the best meal that they've had in the last few days. But obviously, you know, probably a lot of bone. So just want to work out if you can actually get enough of the meat off. Jack asked Ruby when she became addicted to pigs, and she explained that she used to be in South Africa and she heard a pig noise once, thought it was cute, and she decided to just buy pigs after pigs after pigs. So she has a massive collection of those at home because the pig noise decided to make her laugh. Jack also did a cheers to his dad's 77th birthday. So obviously he's not with us anymore, but it was his birthday and they all did a little celebration. And Jack basically told Tom and the rest of the campmates that, you know, last year they were just at home having a nice little family gathering at home. So he obviously didn't realise that was going to be the last birthday he was going to be celebrating with his dad. Martin said to Jack that it's never easy. It takes time. And Ginge and Lisa were giving middle fingers to each other and, yeah, making interesting noises. Lisa also told Ruby to put a log in Ginger's backpack to make it a little bit heavy. And Ruby said that it almost felt like she'd returned to childhood, kind of gone back to the basics. And Ginge spoke to H, saying that he knew Kelly was going to say something before she left. And, you know, it's almost like they've got to try and dig themselves out of this hole and answer to all these interesting questions when actually, you know, it was very open what she said. So they could easily have said, yeah, you know, there was 12 and we just shared 3 between 3 of us or whatever. But anyway, it's up to them to work out how they're going to get over that. And then we found out that the next campmate that was going to be eliminated to an 8th place, the 5th person out, was either going to be Ruby or Lisa. And it was Ruby who was voted out of Camp Next, which I'm a little bit surprised because I think a lot of people did like her. She was very funny. She was a very interesting character. But I just don't know if the UK personalities in there were just so strong and that people love and liked them so much that actually they ended up, gaining that popularity or people's interest that little bit more. But it was Ruby that went out next. Lisa said no way, and Ruby said that she was going to give her leader's crown to Lisa. She explained, Ant and Dec basically said that she survived 19 days with her lucky pants. She was on the cock of van, obviously being one of the losing 6 at the beginning, and she took a fancy to Kiosk Kev. With Ruby explaining, she felt very unreal after all this time being in the jungle. She went on to say it was the most sensational experience she's been part of, and she said that Ginge had actually saved him in the camp. She said she felt like she was in another land or some sort of fantasy world. She was able to forget about the outside and share things with people and being able to bond with them inside. It felt like because she'd previously done a show that required her to be in the jungle, she thought it was going to be similar to that, but she had no idea what was going to happen with this show, and she questioned how the Queen was able to get abducted from the jungle. They added that she was obviously quite mischievous and quite naughty, and she said, "Itched the charm, I was the Queen," so, kind of been able to just get away with whatever. As the leader, she said, you kind of have your servants and you kind of fulfill that role and think you're the leader. And Ant and Dec said that there's only 5 nights left in the jungle, so she's got very close to almost being in the top 10, but she just unfortunately left within the first 5. She said that H and Ginge bring a lot of good energy, and there's a lot in common that she has with the two of them, with Ant saying that there was quite surprising friendships within the jungle. And she said for somebody like Tom, he was very romantic, he wooed her, and he basically won her over. She also explained about becoming her inner child, saying that everyone became hysterical, decided to act like they were 5 years old again. And the whole milk bottle situation, explaining to Ruby that Kelly, H and Ginge had actually taken more than 1 milk bottle each. Ant and Dec said that it's almost like H and Ginge threw Kelly under the bus, and Ruby said that they would do anything because they're funny, but she's happy to just deal with it. She had more than fun, and she said she'd put money on Ginge being the winner, and because he's obviously a deserving winner as well. So yeah, in this episode, like I said, we lost Ruby, and Jack did his really, really interesting trial, and I think Jack was really, really good at the trials. Like, obviously he's still in, but I think the thing is, like, it's very difficult to predict who's going to go and who's liked and who's not liked. But yeah, I think Jack's done fantastically in the trials. And I guess one of the highlights is Ruby. She's this American person and personality who's had so much fame and stardom and whatever from being from her younger age. She's someone that a lot of people look up to or, admire her and her work and things like that. So she definitely was an amazingly massive part of the camp. So it was lovely to see her. Like I said, I think with our British shows, there's always an American that's thrown in, but it's always quite interesting to see who they put in. But yeah, it was an amazing episode. Obviously, we only have 7 people left now, but like I said, it was sad to see her go. And obviously, I've now finished the I'm a Celebrity series, so I actually know who the winner and the rest of the people are. So I'm just doing this from memory and with the notes that I've got. You can see my notes there. But yeah, if you did enjoy this review for episode 18, then don't forget to like and subscribe and share. And until my next review, thank you for watching and goodbye.